Hello, everybody, and welcome to our new episode of the Shopify Growth Strategies series. I'm Wail Amrani, your show host and a Shopify expert and e-commerce consultant. I'm also the CEO of the Timecodes media advertising agency. I have developed search and digital marketing strategies for a variety of clients from international brands and help keep businesses ahead of the competition by researching and monitoring the latest trend in the digital marketing and paid media advertising. Today's topic is about how can e-commerce and DTC brands use fulfillment to improve customer satisfaction and loyalty in 2023. Our guest will be joining us in just a few moments, and he's going to share with us the best e-commerce fulfillment strategies that you can follow in 2023. I will introduce you to the guest in just a few moments. Before I do that, I want to mention, of course, that at Timecodes we are helping brands and businesses to have a good e-commerce growth strategy. So you can reach out to us via www.timecodes.com, and you can book a meeting to discuss your e-commerce growth strategy. And now, I want to introduce today's special guest joining us from Bristol. His name is Freddie Titcombe, and if you don't know who Freddie is, you need to. Freddie is, in fact, an enterprise sales manager at Huboo with years of experience specializing in e-commerce and logistics. Freddie has worked with over 180 global customers, helping them to improve their DTC offering. Today, Freddie, you are going to share with us how some e-commerce fulfillment strategies can help those sellers in 2023. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. It's definitely the first time I've been referred to as a special guest. So yeah, pleased to be here and excited to be talking about some fulfillment. No better way to end the week than talking about fulfillment strategies, get everyone excited for the weekend.
Yeah, sure, and welcome again. We are very excited to have you on the show, and to learn from you, since you have a lot of experience and expertise regarding fulfillment strategies and how you can help those sellers to sell online and to avoid their daily basis issues like returns, customer, inquiries, and so on. So, and then we have this. We can discuss, multiple topics regarding, how, sellers can use those fulfillment strategies, to sell better. So the first one is, what are the main fulfillment challenges and how can overcome those challenges? So I would say the main fulfillment challenges for e-commerce is the returns and exchanges, and also some challenges like technology, process, and strategy. So with Freddie, we'll discuss together these main challenges regarding the fulfillments. The second question is, how can e-commerce and DTC brands choose the right fulfillment partner to meet their needs and goal? I think, according to my experience, the scale and the capacity and also the cost and fees are the main like characteristics or key purchasing criteria when it comes to choose the right fulfillment partner. And then we will see together how we can develop a fulfillment strategy that increases sales. For example, we can have multiple shipping options and other solutions. And also we see together what are the key purchasing criteria in the markets. So the first question, Freddie, is how, what are the main fulfillment challenges and how can we overcome those challenges?
Yeah, I guess for me, it really depends on where the business is at in its life cycle, like the size, and also whether they're looking at in-house versus outsource. The challenges are very, very different from a fulfillment perspective, depending on what model they're using. Typically with in-house, the thing that we come across most when we're speaking to people, the challenges that they're facing is that actually they started a business or they've grown a business and they don't necessarily have those expertise or passion in that area of the business. They never really foresaw that when they created the business that they would be picking and packing in a warehouse or managing others that are doing that. And naturally, with in-house setups, there's always going to be an element of having growth constraints. So it's almost like that being fearful to put your foot to the floor because actually you don't have the capacity to deliver the level of service that you need. And if we're looking at like big spikes and stuff like that, lots of businesses are naturally seasonal. If you're managing this in-house, you can imagine that comes with lots of issues with getting the right staff in and being able to consistently hit those higher levels because you might have permanent staff for the rest of the year. And then when you're looking at sort of scaling up from there, and going into the more established in-house operations, there's still issues of like having to stick to fixed cost models. Like the cost of warehousing is increasing, as we know. Lots of the pension providers have been going in for that and actually increasing costs. And then it's really difficult and costly to implement the tech. If we're looking at the outsource and the main challenges that you see there is costs and generally being able to access things that work with brands' margins. It can be the time spent dealing with a provider. Lots out there might be very tech driven, but when it comes down to it, they're not very human centric, and it's almost like a computer says no approach, which if you're having issues can really burn through a lot of your time and resources. And then if you don't have a reliable provider, it's not giving you the consistent platform to run your business when you're outsourcing. That's just going to, like, again, take a lot of your time and also damage the brand. Those are sort of the main challenges. Now I notice you want how you can sort of overcome these challenges, and I think I'm naturally working for a fulfillment company going to be slightly more biased towards the outsource option. So I'll just go into sort of a bit of detail there for you in terms of how I think you can overcome those challenges by outsourcing. And I really think it's through choosing the right partner. Like, it's critical. You know, you are going to be spending sort of anywhere between 10 and 25% of your revenue on your fulfillment, depending on like the size of the brand and the sort of items that you're shipping. And the cost of getting it wrong is, you know, it's really make or break if you're unable to deliver on what you're sort of like promising for your customers when you're in the D2C space. So sort of tips to like be able to get access to the right fulfillment provider is really just all the same: due diligence, shopping around, making yourself attractive to a fulfillment company as well will go a long way. So, you know, how can you design your business so that you've got a good choice of options that you can leverage? So doing things like keeping your SKU count low and making sure you've got a nice level of orders on all of your SKUs, keeping stock holdings as lean as possible, and then also setting reasonable expectations with your customers will allow you to just save time dealing with customer inquiries if you've sort of under-promised and over-delivered on what you're saying that you're going to do from a fulfillment perspective. Would be my sort of top tips of how you can overcome some of those challenges pretty easily, with not necessarily any extra cost.
Sure, amazing. One of the the main big challenge is the returns. So some of the brands or sellers, they need like a good platform or partner that can help them to reduce the cost for the returns, okay, and also to have like a good technology so that can either the business or the customer have a clear idea about for example the reason of the return, or if there is any delay or any issue regarding the shipping of the item. So I think the main challenge here is to have those sellers to reduce the costs, because if any seller has a lot of returns, this will impact their ROI.
Yeah, definitely. I think technology and transparency in that place will always help.
Sure. Yes, of course. So and also I have like a good question, which is how can e-commerce and DTC brands choose the right fulfillment partner to meet their needs and goals? So because in the market we have like multiple partners, choices, platforms, but sellers, they cannot find the right partner regarding their business model or their online business. So how they can they can do a good choice?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what I was saying before. It's really sort of like analyzing the needs of your business, and I think it's being aware that your priorities as a brand may shift over time. So what's a good fit for you now might not be a great fit for you 12 months, 2 years in future, if they don't have the capacity to scale or to keep their tech advanced in the way that you need. So it's almost always having your finger on the pulse and making sure that you're with a provider that's actually the best for you and your customers. So yeah, it's a case of like assessing your priorities as a brand, and what your customer base needs, and then working back from there and making sure you've got a provider that can actually help you with all of those things. So if you're a brand that focuses on like environmentally friendly products, you're going to need an eco-friendly solution. So what's the most eco-friendly carrier? How can you change your packaging to make it as renewable or recyclable as possible? And then it may be that your priorities are fast, or that you need an economy, or quality is really important for your brand, because you're shipping high quality items and you need to know that every order is going to get there and it's guaranteed, and you've got good like insurance options. So it's really just reverse engineering those main priorities, and then looking for a provider that can meet you there. My advice in terms of how you can make sure that you're actually making the right decision, where possible, always go and visit your provider. If they're unable to facilitate a site tour, that for me as a brand would be a bit of a red flag. I know this isn't always possible when you're looking at cross-border, or you're expanding into new markets that are a bit far away. The return on investment and the spend might be a bit too much, but there's ways around that, right? So if you can't go to the actual site, maybe you could get access to their existing customer base and have a warts and all conversation with them. I think not getting tied into long contracts where possible. So depending on the level that you're at, it may be fundamental, you may need a contract, there's no way around it. But if you're just getting started out, or you're in that sort of like medium market, I think going with a provider that's just confident in their service and allows you to use it because it's benefiting you, not being tied in for 12 months when actually every month that goes past it's negatively affecting your business, can be a big game changer. And also just regularly reflect and audit your processes, and communication with the fulfillment provider that you're in once you're in there, just to make sure you're continuously improving it. And the main thing that you can do to sort of help your fulfillment provider to make sure that you're getting a good service is take a partnership approach. So just have really, really good communication. So if you know you're about to do a big PR blast, or you're going to be featured on TV or something like that, you'd be amazed the amount of people that don't think to let their fulfillment provider know, because they're too excited about their sales and they're focusing on all other elements of the business, and they've not let their fulfillment provider know, and they get a sudden surge of orders, which, you know, if they'd known about it, would have gone out just fine because they've got the resources that they could have played around with. But without that sort of upfront bit of communication, it can be really, really difficult.
Absolutely. Also, I can add that scale and capacity will be a good point to discuss, because consider just the scale and capacity of the fulfillment partner and whether they can handle your current and future volume. I think the partner will make sure that they have the ability to expand as your business grows. And also, I think the costs and the fees are really important when it comes, to reduce the cost for any business or seller. So the seller needs, to compare the costs and the fees of different fulfillment partners, including the storage, the pick and pack, and the shipping fees, and make sure that these fees are transparent and that the costs are reasonable. And also, of course, finding technology and automation. So we need to look for a fulfillment partner that has the latest technology and automation in place to minimize, errors and speed up the order of, fulfillment process.
Definitely, yeah, I agree, and it's it's a particularly difficult industry, seeing as everyone prices ever so slightly differently. So it can be really difficult to compare apples with apples. So you need to have a knowledge of what each element's going into, and be wary of some of those companies that have too complex like fee structures, because you can bet there's things that you've not anticipated that might add up over time. And in terms of scale and capacity, definitely. And that's, I would say, not just from an operational standpoint. You need to look at the resources that they've got behind them. That means that they're actually going to keep up to date with tech and stuff like that. Just because you've got an API connection that's working with Shopify today doesn't mean that you're going to have something working tomorrow, for example. And you want something that's going to keep you ahead of the game and not just sort of stuck treading water. And yeah, when you're dealing with your fulfillment companies to try and get a gauge for their sort of expertise in any area, they should be able to provide you with case studies that are relevant to you. So a bit of a use case of someone that they've worked to similar in the past is good evidence for me that they'll be able to facilitate your sort of scale and growth.
Amazing. Absolutely. And how can e-commerce and DTC brands use fulfillment to improve customer satisfaction and loyalty?
Yeah, I think a big one is that like under promise, over deliver. So be really clear with the thing that you can do is promise a next day delivery, absolutely guaranteed, and then fail on that. It's much better to over deliver. In terms of improving like customer satisfaction, there's lots of things you can do with like unboxing experiences, personalization in there. I think just traceability and updates go a long way. You want to partner with someone who's gonna, for example, we're talking about Shopify today. You know, like integrate once the order's dispatched. There's an automated system in place that's going to ship out the tracking number to the end consumer, so they're going to be able to view that package make its way to them. If it is slightly delayed, that tracking is going to alleviate some of that sort of anxiety of the order being delayed. I think a massive one is just consistency. You know, what you don't want to see is any sort of like mispicks in there, or orders just being sort of like missed and neglected. And also, how can you link up your fulfillment processes to match your brand? One example that we were speaking about earlier is that like eco packaging, for example, and also I think if we're looking at customer satisfaction and loyalty, like having a fulfillment provider that has that scale, like you said, well, that can handle that spiky volume consistently, is really important. And if we look at sort of December just gone, I think there were lots of providers that weren't able to pivot from Royal Mail. So you had lots of situations where there were customers in fulfillment houses just calling out to customer service and raising tickets and stuff and begging to be moved away from Royal Mail onto another provider, and they were almost just like shipping parcels off to Never Never Land and just letting their customers down. So it's about having contingencies in place and sort of like predicting the worst so that you're prepared, so that you can offer that consistency for your customers.
Sure, absolutely. Also, I would say that offering a same day or next day delivery options, okay, you can, help your businesses meet the increasing and demand of faster delivery times, which can help to improve customer satisfaction and loyalty. So I don't know if you can say that offering this option will also help increase your customer satisfaction.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if you're looking at maybe you're a UK based company, you're going to increase massive amounts of customer satisfaction if you're shipping to your European customers from European mainland. There's not going to be any of the pains of customs, duties, delayed orders. Things are going to get there much quicker, much more consistently. So definitely that speed of delivery is not only going to help you sell more and get more conversions, less abandoned carts, etc., but it will have customers coming back again. There may be customers that love your brand right now, but because of the pain of actually receiving the orders, will just not be purchasing. So getting closer to your customer and having a fulfillment provider that allows you to do that is really, really important, or at least a fulfillment provider that allows you to partner with other fulfillment providers where they don't have a site, which is where the tech comes in. If you're working with an old school archaic player, it's going to be really difficult to merge with a new provider, for example.
Sure, amazing, sure. So how has the e-commerce and D2C landscape changed over the past few years, and how has this impacted the fulfillment industry?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's obviously changed in lots of ways. Like some of it's like its hand was forced with COVID. You've got things like in the Amazon effect of almost like the faster deliveries, later cut-off times. You can see that sort of going across the rest of the e-commerce landscape. So customers more and more are asking for later cut-off times for example, in the Netherlands, where we've got a site there, the cut-off times there and the market norms are incredibly late. You're talking sort of like midnight is the customer expectation, and that seems to be sort of spreading. Everything's like sort of faster, quicker. But then on the other side, customers seem to be more forgiving when there's an eco solution in place. So it's kind of going in two different directions there. The adoption of like e-commerce more widely has obviously led to just generally more increased demand, more volume going through the systems. However, like recently, in very recent times, what we're seeing is a bit more of a squeeze on the market, where perhaps the economy is starting to struggle. So I think the fulfillment industry is really having to adapt or die. So the e-commerce sellers are generally really protective of those margins, and they're wanting to drive costs down so they can retain their revenues. However, they're getting inflationary pressures on like pretty much all elements of their supply chain. So I think the fulfillment companies that are doing really well in the current e-commerce landscape are the ones that are able to adapt, and a lot of that is through introducing tech and tech-enabled solutions to drive efficiencies throughout all of their processes to sort of like offset their supplier costs. But it is a balance. There was a interesting article out in the Guardian in the last 4 or 5 days about the conditions that we've probably heard about before that are pretty terrible in some of the Amazon warehouses. You're talking 13 miles walked a day, and that's probably an example of how we can use tech to improve maybe the end customer experience, but in the background there's a lot of pain and misery that goes into that. It's almost using like tech to sort of imprison people. So, you know, if I was a brand and I was looking at sort of sourcing something ethically, I would want to know that technology is being used and implemented to improve lives, but that's all the way through the supply chain, not just for the end customer so it's quicker, faster, better, but so that the people that are working in that environment in the warehouse actually have a better job, and then we're using tech to assist them, not to like stress them out and overwork them like you see in that Guardian article that I was referencing.
Yeah, sure. Also, I would like to say that we have seen a growth of subscription based model. So a subscription-based model have become popular in e-commerce and DTC landscape. So this requires the fulfillment providers to develop recurring shipping and billing processes and handle the management of the subscription data. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely seeing a growth in that. And if you want another top tip, smooth your subscriptions out across the month. We've seen a few people that have basically done first of the month subscriptions, and it's much better from a fulfillment standpoint. It's going to put a lot less pressure on that element if you're able to sort of smooth that out across the month. And yeah, one of the industries that sort of naturally interests me the most is sort of like the health and wellness space. And I think a lot of the players in there are introducing that subscription model, and then backing up that with like a really compelling brand story and good customer engagement through the life cycle. So if you're looking at like supplements, for example, one of the challenges is, you're going to get someone to purchase something and then maybe they're going to need to repeat purchase in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever. How do you keep them engaged? And also, how do you get a compelling enough story and enough social proof onto the site so that someone's confident to make that commitment for 90 days, and then also take the gamble that through a bit of a discount, then they're going to commit and continue to take that supplement.
Sure.
So yeah, definitely agree with you there.
Yeah, absolutely. The big question here is, how can you develop a fulfillment strategy that increases sales?
Yeah, definitely. I think we've spoken a lot about how you can sort of, if you go wrong, end up decreasing your sales with your fulfillment strategy. But yeah, in terms of increasing your sales, it's really looking at how you can out compete the alternatives, and reduce friction for your seller. So it's kind of everything that we've spoken about already, but really through offering a consistent and reliable solution, you're going to get those repeat services. Looking at that subscription model, if you fail to deliver on month one, that's going to drop off. So it's getting that really reliable platform for growth is really fundamental. I'd say other things that you can do to increase your sales is building in like inserts into your fulfillment. So whether that's an insert reminding the customer to leave a review, which is going to drive more sales, or it's an insert that offers a discount code or a referral fee, £10 off for a friend, that sort of thing. Again, the unboxing experience is going to make it feel more premium, more personalized, more shareable. If you're able to get an experience, and it's not going to work for all brands, but if you're able to get an experience out there that people are going to start posting on socials, you're definitely going to drive more sales there. So, it's obviously going to be a bit more of an investment for you, but it's something to play around with for sure, because the return on the investment, and the stuff that it'll do for your brand in the background, it may massively offset that small investment in offering a bit more of a personalized experience. And I think a massive one that's going to allow you to increase sales is just finding a provider that's at the right cost, and it's not so cheap that it's just poor quality, because then you're in a false economy. You want something that's high quality, and it's low cost because it drives massive efficiencies and it passes that back on to you. So that'll allow you to offer affordable solutions to your customer, hopefully fast and free shipping, or eco solutions. And then that's going to allow you to price yourself at the right rate, so that you can compete with others in your space. And the final one that I would sort of recommend in terms of a fulfillment strategy to increase sales is getting as close to your customer as possible. So very similar to what I said before, that sort of how if you're starting to get traction in EU mainland, how can you access that market? Is there sort of a minimum level of SKUs that you can go out there with to test the market, get closer to your consumer, and sort of build up from there?
Sure, amazing. Also, I would say we can offer multiple shipping options. You can provide customers with more flexibility and choice. This includes, for example, options such as standard shipping, express shipping, and same-day delivery. And we can offer some costs or prices for those options. This will definitely help any seller, to increase their daily sales. Also, we need to have a good data and analytics, okay, in order to gain more insights into customer behavior and preferences, and use this information to optimize your fulfillment strategy and increase sales. What do you think?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The more data that you're able to leverage and then sort of test and learn, the better. And hopefully you're working with a provider that has experience, for example, moving people into that specific market that you're looking at, and they can sort of hold your hand through it. They should be more than happy to help to leverage the information that they've got from working with all of their other brands to sort of give you a good bit of advice and steer you in the right direction.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So I have like a last question. Okay, what are the key purchasing criteria in the market? So how those sellers can choose the bidder or the partner that will fit their demand? Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I think there's lots of players out there that will offer a very tech-driven solution that's going to miss that sort of human touch. It might be quite good if everything's seamless, but we live in the real world. There's inevitably going to be slight hiccups or teething issues or something like that, and you're with those really just complete tech focused, maybe providers that are just outsourcing software into other warehouses. You're going to miss that human touch and that ability to get hold of someone when you need to. So I think for me, where you want to be now is sort of a sweet spot between someone who's tech enabled and is advanced and keeping up with the latest updates, but also has a human centric approach. So they've got the empathy and understanding that you're a brand. They understand your needs and what you're doing and your vision for the brand, and also are going to offer you that level of customer service. So being really responsive and not wasting your time, because there's an opportunity cost if you're doing things in-house. But if you outsource and you spend all your time just sort of going around in circles, having computer says no moments, it's just an opportunity cost that's not only really stressful, but you could be doing much better things with your time. So the combination of tech and human focus is a big one for me. And then underpinning that is just reliability and quality. So having accuracy, like what I would want for myself, and my brand would be to just know that everything's going to tick over and I don't need to be babysitting anyone. I know this many orders are going to come in, this many orders are going to go out, and really the only issues that I might have is the occasional lost parcel in the network, which sits with the carriers and it isn't the sort of the fault of the fulfillment provider. And then the last cherry on the cake would be sort of flexibility. So you hit the nail on the head with the option of being able to choose between different carriers and also different speeds of delivery, and you'd want that to be tech enabled as well. So if someone chooses Express on your Shopify store, that's going to seamlessly integrate through the API connection and down into your warehouse, and you're going to get a reliable Express delivery.
Absolutely. And also we can also say that one of the most important purchasing criteria for some businesses is the costs. So businesses that are looking for fulfillment providers that offering a competitive pricing and can help them reduce their shipping and returns costs. Another option or criteria is the customization. So businesses look for providers that can offer customization in their services. This can include options such as a different shipping method, packaging options, and branding options. So I think the cost and the customization are really relevant when it comes to choose the best or the relevant partner.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I would say on costs though is that cheap and cheerful might not always be the best. It is definitely the sort of industry where something can be too good to be true. So you might have rates that are really, really competitive, lower than anyone else. if that's the case, great,
Yeah.
and it might be a good service. I'm not saying that cheap is or cost effective is always bad, but what I'm saying is the advice I would give you is to always back that up with due diligence, and really understanding the quality of the service, because even if you're saving 50p on every delivery, but you have X amount more errors each month, that's, you know, the cost of one mispick, for example, in time spent, just from your labor, from the cost of resending the correct item, the damage to the brand, all of that really accumulates, and could cost you more sales in future. So the last thing I would want is for anyone to be in a false economy. So if you do the due diligence and it is a great service backed up at a great price, then happy days. But just be wary is my advice.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your information and clarification. At the end, let's talk about your company, because I know that you are enterprise sales manager at Huboo, and let's talk a little bit about what your company does and how can you help sellers.
Sure, yeah. So I'm working in enterprise sales for Huboo. So yeah, we specialize in direct to consumer fulfillment. So we were founded in 2017, but really got going with our first round of investment in 2019. And the thing that makes us a little bit different in the market is sort of our hub model, hence the name Huboo. So instead of your traditional warehouse that's I gave that example of walking 13 miles in a day, we've revolutionized that model, and we use a hub model. So it's basically micro warehouses within large warehouse. So if you were a brand to come on board with us, you would get access to one of these small hubs where all of your stock would be kept in a small area. We would then have like consistent members of staff, hub managers that would serve as an extension of your team, get to know you and your product, and just drive real efficiencies through being familiar with it, but also being very tech enabled, and using continuous improvement to design those hubs in an optimized way. And then we've also got sort of enterprise solutions for reputable brands and high growth e-commerce sellers that are, imagine sort of that hub model that I just explained, but it's really on steroids. It's designed completely bespoke for the seller, so it's a full partnership approach of working with that brand, understanding all of their needs, and building a custom operation solution behind them, integrating with their sales channels, etc. Yeah, hopefully delivering a really good service. So that's a quick bit on Huboo. I don't know if you've got any more specific questions about the service and what we're doing.
Amazing. So Freddie, it has been a pleasure to have you on our show. Okay, and if you'd like to connect with Freddie, you can do so on LinkedIn, and as well as you can find him on, you can use the email address, which is freddie.titcombe@huboo.com. So
Perfect,
thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I hope we'll have you as the guest for next episodes. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Well, have a good weekend,
Thank
everyone.
You very much. Have a great one. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye. I love the fact that Freddie jumped right into those fulfillment strategies. So this has been a really great and insightful show to help you understand those strategies. And it has been a pleasure to be your host for another fantastic episode for Shopify Growth Series. A quick reminder, of course, that Atango, the advertising agency, is behind this amazing show series, and also can help you to sell online using multiple platforms, including Shopify, starting from the whole store auditing, to optimizing product landing page, to managing shipping and returns, and also managing some social media ads, campaigns. You can, visit our websites, and you can book a meeting with me or with any other, expert. I appreciate you turning in, and make sure to check our future episode for our podcasts. Again, on behalf of myself and the entire Timecodes team, I want to thank you so much for joining us for today's show, and I will see you all there for the next episode of Shopify Growth Strategy Series. Have a good day, everybody, and goodbye.